Hey guys, welcome to the first video of the new year. We're excited to be bringing you a slew of new faces, new topics, new backgrounds, and new content. So go ahead and stay tuned and welcome back to the channel. But before we begin, just want to give a shout out to all of those who have subscribed, liked, disliked, or commented from day one. You guys are what keeps the channel going and what has driven me to come this far. And we've taken the channel quite a bit since we started, I want to say about a year and a half ago. So thank you all. And for my GWOT gain out there, whether it be GWOT gear, GWOT drip, or most importantly, quad rail gain, this video is for you. So let's get right into it. The star of today's video is the M4A1 in its SOP Mod Block 1 configuration. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the M4, it is a lightweight, gas-operated, magazine-fed, shoulder-fired weapon that is standard issue across the United States military. And I've been using this for the majority of my career, aside from when I was a machine gunner. And it's just been a reliable weapon system and aged like fine wine. The military messed a lot of things up, but the M4 is not one of them. SOP Mod, on the other hand, or Special Operations Peculiar Modification, was a program designed in 1989 to give Special Forces access to an array of standardized weapon attachments as opposed to the homemade ones that they were making for themselves at the time. I'm going to pull up a little bit of a slideshow to explain the history, so please bear with me. The SOP Mod kit is an accessory system for 4 individual weapon systems, whether that be the M4, the HK416, and even the SCAR, and responsibility for the program was assigned to the Naval Special Warfare Crane Division in 1993 after the proper documentation was done. And the SOP Mod Block 1 was fielded all the way up until 2005 when the SOP Mod Block 2 program began rolling out. But during that time period, it was not uncommon to see soldiers running a mix between Block 1 and Block 2 components, affectionately referred to as the Block 1.5. The parts list for the Block 1 itself, which is the topic of this video, is a bit too extensive, so I'm going to scroll down just a little bit and let you guys look at the list of it. And to top it all off here, we have a picture of what components were in the SOP Mod Block 1 package. With the history out of the way, we're going to go into how I have this rifle set up. I have tried to make it as clone correct as possible, and the one thing that you guys are probably going to tear me a new one on is the use of a Somo Gear PEC 15. This is a clone of the actual PEC 15 itself, and we've been doing some research on it to release a video on it in the future, so stay tuned for that one. And for the rifle itself, we're going to be going from front all the way to the back because a lot of things are just easier from the front. To start off with, we have a A2 flash hider as our muzzle device, and it is on a 14.5-inch SOCOM profile barrel. And due to arbitrary gun laws, we have pinned and welded it so that it reaches a barrel length of greater than 16 inches. Just remember, guys, gun laws are an infringement on your way of life. So just thought I'd throw that out there before continuing. But whatever the case may be, the A2 flash hider does a great job at adding some weight to the tip of the barrel, but also reducing shooter signature. And it is closed off on the bottom. It is not a full bird cage. And what this does is it keeps you from kicking up dust and obscuring your vision when firing from the prone position. So moving on to the 14.5-inch SOCOM profile barrel, which is recognized because of the cutout for the M203 grenade launcher. And the story behind these barrels is interesting. So back when Special Forces were rolling with the M4, they began shooting through a lot of their barrels, and that involved mainly their react-to-contact drills where they were shooting a massive amount of sustained fire through the barrel, sometimes even in fully automatic. Now, in the conventional military, if you're shooting fully automatic with your primary weapon system, then you've messed up somewhere and someone needs to come with a crew serve to save your ass. But like any good manufacturer should, FN and a couple others took a look at the barrel itself instead of ignoring it and realized that that sustained fire was causing malfunctions just behind the front sight post, where sometimes it would just blow the whole thing out. So their answer was to beef up the entire barrel, which is why SOCOM profile barrels are thicker and heavier, but they eliminated those issues that were stemming from it. So I would highly advocate for running one, even though it might run you just a little bit more and it'll be a little bit heavier, but they're so worth it. Moving back from the barrel a little bit, we have a standard A2 front sight post with a bayonet lug, and behind that we have the Knights Armament Corporation RIS rail, or rail interface system. And what this does is it allows you to mount attachments on a 1913 Picatinny system at the 12 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 9, and the 3 o'clock. Right now I'm running it with a broom handle foregrip because of the vibes, you know. I'm running the PEC 15 on the top and the Surefire M951 on the side with a pressure pad. And the issues that stem from this rail is the more attachments you put on it, the less rail space there is to manipulate the gun properly. So I've set it up in a way that works for me so I can still have the ability to manipulate the buttons on the laser or the pressure pad on the Surefire. And to put pressure pads on, you can either use rail grabbers or you can do what I did and just Velcro a strip of sticky Velcro to the side here. And that works really well. So the RIS2 is a great two-piece drop-in system, but at the same time, there are a couple different options out there. As far as optics go, I am running the Trijicon RX01, and this is cool aside from one major thing. It is a passively illuminated optic. Hop did a video comparing this to the Israeli clone of it, and I will link that in the description so you guys can go ahead and check out a more detailed overview on both. But what I will say is that the passive illumination is the optic's life and its death. During this outside footage, I was able to capture the amber dot on the blue glass extremely clearly, very visible, very nice when you're looking to shoot out to range. But as soon as I switch to this indoor footage, you'll realize that the dot itself is extremely dim and at times it can be unfindable to where you'll need either a laser or a light to help you shoot inside. So overall, not the best choice, but still a very cool piece of history nonetheless. Moving on to the more commonplace parts of the rifle, I am running an A2 grip. These are about a dime a dozen and are kind of uncomfortable for those of you with smaller hands, but for me, being in the service has kind of allowed me to tune that out from the nub that is in the middle. I'm also running a 3-point car stock, and the car 15 stock was common on a lot of Block 1 M4s, just because it was smaller and less cumbersome to deal with. And I prefer running the car stock with GWOT kits such as the Eagle Industries Searass or the Rhodesian Recon Vest. Another thing right here is the Maytech rear sight, which again, pretty common to use. It's got a very small aperture compared to some other commercial sights on the market, but it still gives me the height I need should my optic fail or the laser fail, and I can still view the front sight post through both of these that are on the top rail. Last thing I wanted to note is the charging handle I'm using is a PRI gas buster, and these were pretty common during the time, and what this does is it has a bigger combat latch, so even if I'm wearing gloves, I can still be able to come up here and rack the rifle fully. And another great thing about the gas buster is that it does do a good job of directing harmful gases and debris away from the shooter's face, which again is a blessing if you're shooting prone. As far as the lower receiver goes, it's fairly standard. I built it with mil-spec parts from Colt themselves, and I am running the H2 buffer, which if you're not familiar with the system, it's just a buffer with 2 tungsten balls in it, and if you shake it, you can hear them rattling, kind of like a maraca. But what that does is when the bolt blows back and ejects around, it minimizes the amount of force that the bolt carrier group comes back with while still allowing it to return to battery. So that's super nice if you like a rifle that doesn't have a lot of felt recoil to it. And as far as the trigger and safety goes, safety does what it's supposed to, but the trigger on the other hand is super crisp and clean. So we're gonna go into a little bit of ASMR here. Take it off safe, clear the rifle, and we're gonna go ahead and press on that trigger. So gonna start pressing here. Got a little bit of play starting to hit that wall. There's that break. Re-rack. And we're gonna start letting off just a tad. Just a tad. There's that reset. So super crisp, super clean. Fucking love it. Probably the best part about this rifle overall. And that's it. That was about 4.5 months of sourcing all the parts and putting them together. And we took the rifle out to the desert the other day to go ahead and shoot it and throw a lot of rounds through it. And it got dirty, it got dusty. We shot everything from steel case to the dirtiest 5.56 we could find. And the rifle ran all those rounds like a champ. So overall, just really satisfied with the performance. But as you all should know, you can have the coolest rifle and be the coolest kid on the block. But if you don't train, then that rifle is damn near useless. So that should be our New Year's resolution, is to get out there and get some training. Get fit, get your marksmanship up. You never know what's coming next. Final thing for you guys, thank you so much for all the support and all the love. And my advice to you is just, somebody comes up to you, don't be afraid to be nice to them, because you never know what kind of a day the person's having. And that's all I got. Thanks for tuning into the channel. I'll see you in the next one.